And like any good preacher, he goes on and on and on and on for 11 chapters. Then he applies it. He applies it in chapter 12. You know Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. He says then, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, in view of all these 11 chapters. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship, your liturgical service. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So you have 11 chapters unpacking all of these gospel indicatives, and then in chapter 12, you have this overarching command of what to do, to be a living sacrifice. And to be a living sacrifice then is to put yourself on the altar. Being on the altar. This is not being on the altar in some sort of self-saving way or self-atoning way. This is simply saying that you're giving yourself in a consecrated devotion to God. You're giving yourself in worship and in witness to Him. But it is, of course, in view of the gospel, based on your acceptance in view of the gospel, because of what Christ has accomplished. And yet you need to be on the altar. It's very much like Exodus chapter 30 and the altar of incense. It's not making atonement, but it is then this sweet aroma to God. And of course, Paul himself offered an example of this. He modeled this when he said in Romans 8, verse 36, quoting Psalm 44, he said, for your sake, God, for your sake, we are being killed all day long. We are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. Everybody likes the nice fluffy image of the church as, oh yeah, well this is the flock and here's the sheep. Yeah, but you know what the sheep are kept for? The sheep are kept to be slaughtered on the altar. Sheep are for. You can leave now if that's offensive. Like that's the deal. That's what it's about. Sheepy. No, it's about your life is a life then offered. That give your whole life to Him. And of course, our hope is when we die with Christ, we have the hope of resurrection to be with Him forever, to be resurrected sheep, which is an amazing concept. And you know, Paul lived this out. He lived this out. You know, he lived this living sacrifice thing out. I mean, he told the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 11, he said, 3 times I was beaten with rods, once I was stoned, 3 times I was shipwrecked, a night and a day I was adrift at sea. You know, this wasn't health and wealth and prosperity. He was living his life as a sacrifice. So when Paul then comes near the end of then his letter to the Romans, he's been expressing the way that he's been obedient to the great commission of Jesus that he gave to the whole church, but also to the specific commissioning that Jesus gave to Paul. And it was for him then to be this missionary, this apostle to the nations, to the non-Jewish Gentiles. Of course, he'd share the gospel with Jews too, and he was Jewish, but that was his focus. And so then we have this remarkable mini autobiography. Now, I really like biographies, and I especially how they viewed the things about their life. And of course, it's biased. It's biased. It's just like, you know, your Instagram or your whatever, your Face Talk or whatever it is. And you if you're on there, you present what you want people to see, and you don't present what you don't want to be shared. Like, there's nobody posting what they look like when they wake up in the morning. Nevertheless, it does tell you a lot about someone with as far as what they emphasize, what they want you to see, what they share. And like, Augustine's Confessions, one of the great autobiographies of the Christian faith, tells you much more about him than maybe even just